Danger Street issue 4, Tom King writing, Jorge Fornes on the art. So, I think this book's really kind of hit its stride because the more we're settled into who the characters are we're following, and we've got all these different parts. Last issue we ended with the kid seeing on the policewoman's desk, on Lady Cop's desk, that who the killer is, who the suspect is, who the lead suspect is, and that is built up quite well in this, where the kids are doing research on him at the library, seeing who he is, and they're like, we have to kill him, and like, okay, how are we going to do that? And it all builds up because later on we see that Starman and was it Warlord?
And Warlord, yeah.
Like they are actually in the same town, and they go to the same library. It's like, oh wait a minute, they're nearby. I'll if the kids see them. And sure enough, they mention they're going to the hardware store to get a shovel because they're going to dig up the dead kid because they're going to try and bring him back to life, which is a whole thing. But I love that when you see one of the kids walking down the street, you actually see him walking past the hardware store before he sees Starman sitting in the car. And it's this sort of like, oh shit, like the book's done a good job of giving you those oh shit moments of like, oh no, like things are coming together and like coalescing.
Yeah, the pacing is so great.
It's immaculate. Like, the pacing's fantastic now.
So the way that I forget which kid it is, I think it's non-fat, is walking through singing about how much he loves grapes.
He's eating grapes. He loves the grapes.
And he loves them, and he looks up and sees their car and sees, I think he sees Starman, right?
You see Starman, yeah. Starman's sitting there with
Warlord's
sunglasses and the hat on, yeah.
Yeah. And you see his expression, but he keeps walking. And, it's just the way that it's paced to him going to all the friends, like, guess who I saw? Yeah. And then just
because that's the last page. It's because it cuts around everything that's like all the aftermath of all the different scenes that have happened as he's trying to tell his friends, because they're making fun of them. It's like, oh, I saw a car. It's like, oh, you saw a car? That's exciting. Like, no, in the car. Starman.
Yeah, they're just being really crappy kids, right? Like, their friends trying to tell them something important and they're not letting them talk. Also, the scene where they're in the library, the kids, and they keep cussing and it keeps pissing off the librarian and they keep apologizing.
Yeah.
That reminded me something out of Goonies, something along those lines of the kids being kids.
The narration calls her an oracle, I think. This is what keeps referring to her, because she has the knowledge. She has the keys to the knowledge, which is the library. Which I thought was a nice touch. All the pacing of that stuff building up was excellent. And it did some other things with like Lady Cop. There's not much of her this issue, but she's practicing with her gun. She's at the shooting range, and it really focuses on like the panels of her like putting the clip in and all that. But it's like the other cop who's with her is like, hey, should we maybe call Superman? Like, we got this like leaflet years ago. Like, if a supervillain ever shows up, call this number kind of thing. It's like, maybe we should go and get it and call it. And we get kind of this, and the narration even calls it this. It calls it, she's ominously teasing her backstory. But she talks about how, I asked Superman for help once, and you think, oh, you met Superman? And then it turns out, no, she was hiding under her bed while something really bad was happening. And she, asked Superman for help, but he never showed up. So she has kind of this negative opinion. She feels like she was maybe like abandoned by Superman or something.
Yeah, it feels like someone with a lapse of faith.
Yeah.
Right? Just swap Superman for whatever deity, right, you believe in, and that statement fits.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's only a couple of pages, but it really sort of gives you this hint of like she feels she has to do this herself, so she's on her own. There is no help coming from anywhere else.
And judging based off of the cover, which I thought was teasing Lady Cop's origin, I thought we were going to get into the origin, but I do love how King and just kind of teases it here.
Yeah, what was going on in our our family home or her apartment when she was hiding under the bed? I assume someone bad was there. You have to assume.
So,
but the way
I don't want to spoil the origin. Do you not know her origin? Because it's something I looked up.
No, I don't know.
Okay, I'm not going to say anything. Don't anybody tell Pete, please.
Okay, because we'll find out. I'm sure.
I want to see his reaction when we finally get to it.
Yeah, but it's the way she says, like, I wasn't too loud. Maybe he didn't hear me. Yeah. Maybe, but I think he hears everything. That's what they say anyway. And then it's right after she says that she fires the gun, and the background of the panel goes red with the boom sort of sound. That was just really well timed. It was just like the way she sort of dismissing it as if like, yeah, he heard me, the prick, and then he didn't show up anyway. You can sort of get her attitude out of the way she says it and the timing of when she says it.
Well, and the fact that she is, all 4 of her shots are headshots, right? And just the way that she says, he didn't show, but you're right. He certainly looks nice on TV. Like, just that whole vibe from her there. Just like,
it's very cynical.
I don't want to take care of myself.
Yeah, it's a very cynical take on him.
And hopefully these boys are to me, what I would like to see out of the Lady Cop here is that those boys are the ones that reinstill her belief, and not maybe superheroes, but in other people, right? Is that these boys, who are going through their own version of maybe what she went through, right? Something dark where superheroes didn't respond, and in fact it was caused by a superhero. That maybe they don't have to end up like her. That's what I hope the journey she goes on.
I mean, that's definitely a thematic connection here. Is that these boys have just discovered that the person who maybe killed their friend is supposed to be a superhero, and then she's told a story here where she kind of lost faith in superheroes, and she says that's when she decided to become a cop. So it is thematically kind of linking them. The other big exciting scene here, which I thought was like expertly done, was. One of the green team is out, and he's being a little shit. He's talking about how we've we've bribed the right people. This forest that's been preserved. We're tearing it all down. We're going to build whatever it is they want to build. Yeah, probably casinos, supermarkets, whatever.
It's whatever. Yeah, there's this is our pristine land to do with what we want.
Yeah,
and he's just like I'm just like, ooh, I hate him.
This is evil capitalism bullshit. Yeah. And then the kid just turns around and reveals that the Manhunter's shown up and has killed everyone who was there to protect him and listen to him.
I love though because there is no sound effects. He is, and I don't know if that's how quiet Manhunter is, or if it's because this kid is so into his own
self-absorbed.
Yeah, that he didn't even notice that his killer was behind him.
No,
and he's standing there much like a slasher, although he is holding a gun. So. But Manhunter is standing there in the snow, with every security force.
I took personal glee in this kid from the green team, try to call for security help and screaming at people, and then hitting his head on a branch and just lying there as Manhunter comes up, picks up the phone and talks to presumably what codename. Assassin. Yeah. And is immediately the codename gets oh, it's you. It's the guy who took the shot, last issue. He immediately knows who he's talking to as Manhunter is strangling this kid with his foot. And presumably then just
because I had thought that he had gotten shot, right?
No, that's just the head hit from the
him
branch.
Hitting the tree.
Yeah.
And then he's laying there and he is perfectly aware of everything that's going on. Right.
Yeah.
And again, the pacing with he's got his foot on the neck as he's talking, and we just the for lack of a better term, the camera zooms in on his eyes, the life leaves his body, and you're just like, oh man, this just got ramped up.
Well, they already set up last issue that Manhunter and Codename Assassin are kind of equals, right? He kind of was able to go after him, and it feels like a meeting of two similar people. So there's a retaliation in this very issue where later on we see Manhunter go back to what's his name, Grandmaster.
the Grandmaster, the leader of his Manhunter cult.
Yeah, and we find out this is the Mark version of Manhunter, and he basically says he did a good job, right? And that's kind of all it is. But what the real reason for that being there is to establish is that later on. The Master's going to be in a movie theater, and Codename Assassin comes and kills him, almost in retaliation for the death of one of the kids. And it's this really simple sequence where we're mostly just hearing the movie, which is a version of the Great Gatsby, from 1936. And he just sits down next to him and doesn't really say anything, and then he just sort of dies from it's like the popcorn was poisoned or something. There's just
well, you got to remember too that Codename Assassin is telepathic, so whatever he did, I'm sure it had to do with the telepathy here.
Yeah, but what telepathic? I mean, would trigger pink smoke to come out of his neck?
I have no clue.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's something in the popcorn that he then triggers with his telepathy. Maybe or something. I don't know.
Because he's eating it just fine before Codename Assassin comes in and sits down.
And Codename Assassin takes a bite of the popcorn as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just that it's poison, but it definitely felt like, there's something. But if someone can clear exactly how he's killed him here, that would be lovely.
Yeah, because he gets got.
Yeah, I didn't quite get the method of killing, but it's obviously clear that he's dead and that Codename Assassin did this.
And just and when you know what the Greek Gatsby's about, it's about greed, right? And how they're colored green, at least in the novel, it put, that's what gets a lot of the emphasis. Here, the fact that they're sitting here watching this, and they're talking. Certainly,
the Green Team ties into this thematically. One with obviously the early capitalism, but then also what comes up. So the other sort of little thing that connects to the later Green Team scene, but also Jack Reacher, is there's a scene where this racist guy is basically just assaulting this man in an alleyway with a pipe. He's just hitting him repeatedly. And saying that he's ruining this country, you people are doing this, blah, blah, blah. And Creeper shows up, and it's like, I'm not a hero, but like, you shouldn't hit people, it's violent. And he starts beating the shit out of the racist with the pipe. And for some reason, and I say that, but for some reason, one of the Green Team is saying to Jack later on, when he's back to being just his normal, TV presenter self, he's like, you're going to say on air that this man who was attacked by some creature calling himself a superhero was a hero, and you're going to have to paint him as the heroic person who was who was attacked by this awful menace. And Jack's like, I don't know, none of the evidence here suggests that this guy was all that good. It seemed like he was assaulting someone before he was attacked. And the Green Team kid just like slaps him in the face. He makes him like come over and kneel down and slaps him and says, how effing dare you, you'll be out in the street if you say one word that's not approved. If you don't say,
because he wants him to call him an outsider.
Yes.
Right.
Well, it's actually so that's the other thing that we've been doing throughout this book is the use of this word's outsiders. And when Manhunter shows up earlier and the Green Team kid gets on the phone to like beg for help, he's like, I'm being attacked by an outsider. And later on in the scene in the alleyway where this racist gets attacked by Creeper for attacking this innocent guy, when he's lying there like hurt, he calls the man that he was attacking an outsider, right? He's this outsider. And I was like, all this time, we've been jumping to Outsiders, the team in DC Comics, Batman and the Outsiders. Are they trying to like sort of paint them as villains? And it sounds more and more from this issue that Outsiders just a term they're using for anyone who like is different. Them. Yeah, it sounded like a term that's just been used to encapsulate anyone who's a different color, anyone who's a different type of person. It sounds like it's been used here to be more xenophobic and bigoted than it is about anything else.
Yeah, it's one of those words that people like the bigot that's beating them. It loses what the actual meaning is because they're using it for everything. It's just meant to represent whatever they're not. Yeah, because it is the other.
Because early on, when the Green Team kid says it on the phone, you're like, oh, he's making these leaps because they've painted this group as the boogeymen of outsiders, right? But when this guy in the alleyway is like lying there hurt after Creepers like beat the shit out of him, and he says it, and it bolds the word in the letter, and it says bolds the word outsider that he mutters just before he passes out. It's like, oh, that's very intentional. They want us to connect these different uses of the same word. They want us to connect the fact that he's using that. And then, sure enough, later on, the other Green Team kid, when he's yelling at Jack, brings up the same word again. He brings up outsiders. He was beating up an outsider. He's a hero. So, sure enough, in the last little montage at the end, in the last page, Jack has to report this heroic man was attacked by some monster, in the city. So, honestly, this idea that we've got a group of kids running not the country per se, but are high up in a company running and controlling the news media, it definitely feels like some political commentary on the world of today, I would say.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, just this whole idea that this kid, it's so funny because he's still a kid because he's not drinking alcohol, right? As he's yelling at Jack Ryder, it's like a rocks glass full of milk, right? So it even drives home the fact that these are kids, and this is what they want to do, but they're the ones with the money, therefore they get to call the shots.
Yeah. Also, this kid that's yelling at Jack does seem to maybe be dead at the end. It looks like maybe his milk was poisoned by Manhunter because he's like killed over at his desk. I mean, he may not actually be dead, but that's what it certainly implies to me.
I think it's the same person that got the Human Target. That's how I'm gonna go out.
No, it looks like Manhunter got another kid at the end, so it seems like it's becoming personal between Manhunter and Codename Assassin. So
which I love that too, because that that feels this is like Gus and the Saltamonkas on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. They just don't, but yeah, and then we also get the warlord in the library. We get that scene where he talks to the librarian to find out, where they need to go, where the cemetery is, basically.
Yeah, they're just looking for where the kid's buried. He's claiming he's looking for an old aunt or something like that, but it's actually the kid they're looking for.
But he's able to use his, charm and whatever to talk to the librarian to get what he needs, which, I thought was a fun little scene.
Yeah, the other big plot thread that we've not mentioned yet is Orion on his way to Earth, and the mother box basically just talking like it's sat navigation, GPS, where it's like take a right in the next, after 3,275 miles. That's helpful.
At the state of California, which that cracked me up too.
Which is, it's just a couple pages, and it's just building up because we know he's on his way to try and help fix things. And he gets to the two digging the grave at the end. He gets to Starman and Warlord. So that's kind of where that. So you've got all these plot threads. There was less Lady Cop this issue, although her few pages did leave an impact. But the way that the kids stuff and the Starman stuff is starting to kind of build up to come together, and the way that the Codename Assassin and Manhunter stuff is clashing together. Like, this was easily my favorite issue of the four, I think, so far.
Each of them have built on the rest on the last one.
I think it's fair to say that each one's been better than the last. I think it started off really solid, but I think it's feeling like even easier to get into and enjoy the more it goes, because all the pieces just feel like I understand them all moving against each other.
They're all falling into place, and when you see the creeper attack, because they keep calling him the ogre,
in the narration, because the fantasy speak,
and just the fact that when you think about legends and stuff, that ogres are bad guys, do they have to be? Just because there's these big scary monsters, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're on the same side as evil, right? So I like that juxtaposition here is that he's carrying water for these people in his other identity, but he's out there, stopping a guy from getting beat with a pipe, So there is a level to what he's doing.
And to be fair, he does have a journalistic line of integrity where he tries to fight back a little bit, and then
tries to push back.
Obviously he's put in his place, as it were. But everything's just sort of really coming together, and there's so many scenes in this that are just handled exceptionally well. It kind of felt like it was just great to begin with, but I feel like over issue 3 and 4, it's really become up to the quality that we've seen in these other Tom King books. And I don't know if it's just because it was juggling so many characters, it took a little bit of time to just sort of find its feet and or maybe just
established,
or just for us to get to know all the characters enough that we really got the weight of everything that was happening. But I love this issue. So
well, and I love hanging out with those kids too. The pool stuff last issue, the library stuff in this issue.
Yeah, and obviously
it adds a levity to a kind of heavy story.
Yeah, and obviously Fornez's art is it's doing all these subtle things. We talked about the body language and the timing of the moments, and the Lady Cop stuff that told us so much about how she thinks about Superman, but it was going beyond just what the dialogue was. And then obviously the kids seeing Starman for the first time, and the reaction to that, and just all of it so well done. And then it feels weird to call it an action scene, but even just the way that the pacing of the Manhunter coming after the Green Team kid early on in the snow, that entire sequence is just the pacing is, and it's all in the art. It's the way the panels are paced out. It's the way the characters look at each other. It's all those things is perfect. Yeah. So, fantastic issue. I loved it. What are you giving Danger Street issue 4, Matt?
I'm giving this a 9.
I'm gonna go 9.5. I think this is I think this is the pinnacle of this book so far, and it's okay, all right, we've got this magic once again that Tom King seems to find in these 12 issue books that is on It's so weird that they gave him 12 issues for this, but they didn't think Supergirl was going to sell enough to get 12. That's so weird.
Yeah, but remember they took this, they solicited it and then resolicited it. So maybe there was just something going on at that time. You know, maybe.
Admittedly, yeah, Supergirl was probably greenlit in the old regime,
right?
So yeah, I mean maybe that's the case, but happy exists. Happy we're getting these like more obscure characters, and for the most part, I'm learning about who a lot of these guys. I didn't know who Lady Cop or the Dingbats were before this.
So I had a, the guy that runs my comic shop was asking about, why I like this book so much, and I got into that whole thing that we found out about, the single issue specials, and that he's taken I feel like Tom King got that book when he was a kid, and he's been developing a story that connects them all in a way that one just didn't. And he's also adding some commentary about our world.
Yeah, but what's so beautiful about it is that you don't have to know any of this. Like, you can just read this, and it's just a bunch of new characters to you, and that's fine. Like, it's just a really well told story at this point.
And like, it doesn't have to be Manhunter and Codename Assassin. That could literally be two other of those type of characters, and it still works.
It's the same with Rorschach. Like, use Watchmen as a backdrop, but that could be a story about just original characters, and it would work. You
could make Rorschach Jack Ryder and have the Creeper doing that stuff, and that story still works.
I mean, hell, most of the main characters in that Rorschach book were new characters. It was only just using the history of Watchmen to, give us some context. So, for
sure.
Excellent stuff.